Welcome back. And so here we are. We're back working on this ZoyZoy character. And so, Danger Aware is a nonprofit organization for the prevention of abuse. And what we're doing is we're creating cartoons and comics and games and lots of things that we want to attract children to or adults to. When they play our games or enter our contests, they're improving their awareness of abuse actions and how uh, there are precursors to abuse in most cases. Not always, but in most cases, people set others up to become victims. And we want to train people to recognize those things that happen and to basically call them out and stop them. So if we can prevent we can prevent the abuse by calling out the first actions that lead to abuse. So accidental touches should be called out because it may not have been accidental. If it was accidental and it's called out, nobody cares. Everybody's fine with it. If it was not accidental and it's called out, then the person who did the touching will be wary from touching that person again. So that's what we're after, just to educate everybody in the various means to call out and prevent abuse. And so to that end, we're creating cartoons and comics. And one of our cartoons characters is ZoyZoyHop. That's this character right here. And she is a grasshopper. And so what we're trying to do right now is work her body to rotate the upper body. So what I'm using is the ability to go in and use animated layer order. But you cannot do that on two different bones, okay? So with bones, when you're using smart bones to do actions, for instance, I'm going to use one of these bones to move the pupils left and right, and another bone to move the pupils up and down. And I can do that, but I have to reset them to at the center, they have to be reset to neutral so that they don't affect each other. So we can move it sideways without also moving it up, or move it up without also moving it sideways. That feature to do a reset like that does not seem to exist for the sorting of the order of layers. So I've been using the order sort for these hands, and you have to add that sort feature on the actual group that you're affecting. So I wanted to move the fingers around. I had to apply the order sorting to this layer so that I could do it within this layer and not affect other hands. Okay, so if I had tried to go all the way up to the ZoyZoy level to do that, it would not work. I would only be able to move one hand, not the hands and the other arms. So I can do the sorting here, but I can only affect these objects that are directly in line with it, and I can only do it with one smart bone. If I apply a smart bone and apply the order sorting with that bone, I can only do it with one. The recommended way of doing it, because of that limitation, is to simply create another complete set of arms and just hide the ones you're not using. I could do that, and I've done that in the past, but it is very memory extensive when you've got a lot of switches in the hands, or even when you're just doing a dynamic hand like I am on each of these. So all of those parts have to be linked, and we can do that now that everything's created. We can duplicate it, and those links are already there. So I may end up doing it that way, but for now, what I've decided to do is, instead of doing the upper and lower arms separately, I'm going to remove one of these bones. We're just going to take the top one here out. The top arms left and right, we're just going to remove this bone. We don't need it at this point. And so we need to be in the main line and in the bone layer to do that. So we've got to go to the main line, and now in the construction layer, now I can delete that bone so we don't use it. And I'm going to delete what I did with the arms already, and then I'm going to rename this bone, and we're just going to call it torso twist. So I will use this to simply twist the torso left and right and move both sets of arms left and right, which is more realistic anyway. You know, the insect's arms and legs are all attached in basically the same area, so rotating them, they would rotate together, not independently. So that's what I will do in this case. So we'll get started now with that. Rotate the arms left and right. So we're going to create a new action for this called torso twist. We're going to move it all the way to the minimal direction, and then move to 64 and move it all the way to the maximum position. When it's all the way to the right, we will want both of these arms to be behind the body and about halfway to center of their maximum pull in. So we'll pull this one to there and this one to there. And then these bones are going to be all the way in as far as we can bring them. So I like to shorten it until the bone is basically just a small equilateral triangle. So, whoops, don't want that one. So when we get in close, the base of the triangle doesn't change. So when we've got a basic equilateral triangle, when we're zoomed in, I guess that doesn't work, because as we zoom in, it changes the base. So, well, let's just make it where the two dots are overlapping and almost a flat line when we've got it. So we're going to do that on this one as well. And we'll zoom in and just shrink it as much as we can. There we go. So that brings them around, and now we need to change the sort order so that the arms on the let's see, on the right, the character's right, need to be behind the body. So the right arms go behind the body. That also puts it behind the head. So if we reached up, the hand would be behind the head as well. So now we go all the way to the other end, and we want it on top up until it stretches, go around, and that would be right here. So we go to the bone layer and we select this bone and stretch it to just to the border of the stroke there. We don't want to go beyond the stroke. And I'm trying to get this bone and it won't let me. There we go. We want to stretch that one as well. Stretched a little too far. So we bring that just within the stroke. So there we come now behind the body. So we also need to tell it to move the left arms behind the body here. So now the arms will continue behind the body, then back around to the front, and at this point they should be all the way in. So we need to go back to the bone layer, select the transform bone tool, and we're going to shrink this bone as far over as we can, just like we did the other side. Zooming in helps you control which bone you're grabbing. Oops. And there we go, that's close enough, and we're going to do the same thing to this one. And there we go. So now, let's wraps around and comes behind. And we want to do the same thing over here at 16. We want to stretch these bones out to the edge, just within the stroke, and then from here on we want the right arms below the body. And they should stay behind all the way to here, so again, the right arms below the body. At 16 and at 17, we want it to be back to normal. And that should stay with them both on top till it rounds around the other end and rounds around this end. Alright, so let's do one more thing. Let's make the torso look like it's turning also, since we had to put those on the same bone. So we're going to go into the body and the thorax, and I'm just going to move this point right here. So hit T and grab this point there. So at 32 we're going to release it, but when we're rotated all the way this way, we want to shift it, and I'm using the shift key to hold this down, and we'll move it about like that, and then at the other extreme we'll move it the same way to just about like that. And now let's see how that looks. I think it's got too much of a curve on it. Let's take a look at the curve. Right here it's centered. Oh, I see. It's these curves. So they're growing. Why are they growing? Alright, well, let's not grow them. Let's grab them. C. And we just grab this. Thing on the other end, just shrink this up a bit. Now I think that'll look better. Yeah. So now the arms are going around the body, and we can't do that with any other actions here. We cannot change the arms or head or body positioning with any other bones, because apparently there's no way to reset that feature. So, but there we go, we've got that character rotating. Let's do a little bit with the shoulder too. Let's go back in there and go to the body and to the thorax. And let's go, so here's the center. We're gonna click everything, T, and then hit reset just to make sure it's all reset. Now, when we rotate this way, let's take this point and we'll bring it down like that. And then the other end, we'll do the opposite. Grab this point and bring it down till just right where we start seeing the wing show. Oh yeah, that makes it more like it's turning and rotating the top of the body. So there's the maximum there, and there's the maximum here. I think this dot can move over just a bit more. And let's go see how that looks now. So we go out to the main line, and we can grab the bone layer and manipulate bone. Well, we don't want anything in this animation at this point. And we should be at the home. And let's go ahead and do 500 here. We don't need just 64. Alrighty, and so let's see. We're gonna move the arms around the body there. Okay, that looks good. And then the legs do that. So we can have the arms and legs both on the same side of the body. So the thorax and abdomen obviously work separate from each other. I don't think there's really anything we can do on the thorax there that makes the thorax look like it's moving, unless we want to make it thinner in one direction than the other. That might be good. Let's see what we can do there. So with the abdomen, let's go into the legs left and right. So hit T or G to grab all the points, and then T. So holding Alt will make the body thinner, and at 64 we want it to be Alt and just click, and so it's the same grouping. G to grab everything, T, and then, oops, I didn't, G to grab everything. Then we'll go back to 32, the center point, and we hit reset. It's already done so, but we just want to make sure. So we reset. Oh, there, I didn't. So there, we reset now, back to normal. So now when the character turns, I think the leg's going out a little too far, so let's work on the legs there, going back to the bone layer. So now we're just going to bring this bone in just a little bit. Okay, and then the opposite end would be 16. That back in just a bit. So now, go to the main line, and we rotate that section of the body. Okay, but let's move those legs a little bit more on the inward side. So let's go ahead and, since we brought thin this in, so we need to grab the bone, T, and we're going to just bring it on in a little more. So, holding shift, let's bring it to right there. And then the opposite would be true here. We're going to bring this one in right there. So we're like halfway between where we were before. So let's try that. Go back out to the main line. And we're going to just rotate the bottom legs now. Well, that's better. Yeah, that looks like it's going to the right place. And then the torso. Let's, the thorax, I mean, which is also their torso, but you know, let's go to the thorax there, the torso twist. And actually that should be thorax twist, so that's why I'm calling it wrong, because I named it wrong. So let's rename this to thorax twist. And then we're going to have to go in and rename the bone. So it says torso, we need to say thorax. And now we can go back to the main line. And we can rotate. And it works, so that means our rotation name change worked. And now I want to go back into the torso twist, and we're going to make the thorax a little bit narrower at the extremes. So it looks like it's actually changing shape. So let's drag this in just a bit. And the opposite end would be the opposite thing. And let's bring it in on both sides at the same time, actually. So there and there, and we'll bring these in a little bit. All right, let's take a look at that. So we want to go to the bone layer, manipulate the bone, so there we go. We can turn the body and the torso, torso, and they both look like there's a thinner profile. And do we need to adjust the arms at all? Let's zoom in and take a look here. So, and they're going outside just slightly. So we go to the midpoints, which is 48, and we're just going to bring these bones back on the shoulders just a hair, just so we're well within the stroke of strokes. So both strokes should be never disconnected. So here the stroke is basically disconnected. We're going to just bring this back in and bring this back in. So now it can't disconnect or look like the body is disconnecting from the arms there. Okay? Looks like the bottom one here could be a little longer. Right about there. There we go. So that works, and let's see, this should be a little shorter there. That's fine. Oh, it's way out there. Want that at 64. So there we go. Double check this side. This side we're not bringing them in far enough, so we got to bring that to right there, and right there. Now we're looking right. All right, so there we've got our arms twisting to give us our torso twist of the character. Let's just double check here now. That looks good, and it looks better with that. And again, we can reverse this foot, which makes it look like the character is moving this direction. Let's do that. Oops, there. And of course, then these arms can be brought around like this. So maybe we should bring these arms even further. Yeah, let's bring those arms around even further. So in the torso twist, at the farthest extremes, we're going to go ahead and bring these to there. Gives us a little longer reach on the other side of the body. And same here. I'm just going to shrink that down. Whoop, I didn't want to take it loose. Wrong bone again. Zoom in. There we go. Alright, so now let's go back out to the main line and check how it works. Alright. So now with that arm behind, we can reach around and, you know, they can interact a little bit more with the body there on the other side of the body. So we turn like this, turn like this. So we would want this leg like that. So there we go. We can turn the character to be pointing this direction and practically turning around. Very close. And looks better that way there. There we go. And we've got the ability to have the legs both in front and the arms both in front, or all four arms in front at the same time, and two and back and two and back. So I think that should do it. So now we can move on to the next bone. We're going to create a new action for the abdomen up and down. When it's down, the abdomen will shrink. Now the wings are moving with the bones. So that works. So yeah, she moves down. We'll go well past the feet. But when do so, we'll have to move the wings up and out. And then for the extreme up at 64, we move this bone upward and we stretch the bone. So she's jumping and stretching her body about to there. Let's go to 32 and compare that height to normal. So that's a lot extreme. Let's bring this down just a bit. So right about there. Let's check 32 compared to at rest. Not too bad. So but at 32, we're just going to reset that bone. So reset, reset, reset. So now that is the center point for the jump, or the extending of the torso. So there, we can do that. And now we're done with that. We do the next bone, which is the arms up and down. So what I want to do is make it where these arms can move up and cover the other one, so it almost looks like there's only one set of arms. Bottom arms up and down. Alright, so when they're down, we move this lever all the way down, and then what we'll do is we'll take this bone and hold shift and take this bone. Oh, you gotta use B and then hit shift. So there, I've got both those bones, and I can hit T to transform them together. And I'm gonna hold shift and just bring them down like this. And no further than that. And then at 64, we're going to move them to be directly over top of the other bones. Right there. And we're going to just shrink them enough to bring the other arms directly over top, or as close as possible. So there we go. Let's see, and at 32, we want to reset them. So now our arms can go up and down, and as they do, they will overlap the other arms directly. Down and up. Oh, we didn't get up. Oh, I didn't do the up lever. So go back in here and go to 64 and move that lever all the way up. So now we can go down to the main line, and we can rotate this way. And there we go. It looks like she's only got 2 arms at this point until we start moving them. And then you can obviously see this is the second set of arms behind the first. And there we go. And if we rotate the arms around behind the body, they go behind the head too. So this arm is in front, this arm is in back. There we go. So we're done with that bone. Now we're going to start working on the mouth. So the first thing we do on the mouth is the jaw up and down. Now with the jaw up and down, we're going to be working in the face. So we open the head and we're going to be working in the mouth. And here it is. We got mouth, teeth, top teeth, bottom teeth, tongue, and lips. And so this is to move the jaw only, which means we're going to grab the skull, and we're just going to move these bottom 3 points down and up. Okay, so first we need to move the bone, rotate it all the way down, so how far down the jaw will go down, and then come to 64, how far up will the jaw go? So with all the way up, the bottom teeth and the bottom gums, so using G, we're going to grab both objects and hit T. And when the jaw comes up, the teeth will stop when they impact just inside the bottom of the top teeth. And as you can see, the top teeth are on top. So we'll bring the bottom teeth right to there. And this blue is the gums inside the mouth. And we need to bring the chin up just as much as we brought the teeth up. So holding shift, I can grab these three, and we're going to just bring that just like that. So the jaw has come up, and now we need to move the jaw all the way down. So how far do we want that jaw to go down? Well, not past the neck too much. So let's go just to the neck. All right, and then we need to bring those bottom teeth just as much. So let's bring them all the way down to right there, and then take a look at how it goes back up. So when we're up, we're not too far from the bottom edge of the jaw. One arrow span, not even. So we need to be that same distance here. So about one arrow span, so we can bring that up just a bit. Alright, so now when we move the jaw open and close, the teeth, bottom teeth and the gums go with it, and it looks like it's connected. And we go to 32 and simply reset everything. So it was a little bit different, but that's why we reset at 32, is to release everything back to our rest state for the character. So there we've got the jaw coming up and closing the teeth together. So, all right. So now we're done with the jaw up and down. The next mouth part is the lip width. So we're going to create an action for lips width. And what we want is when the character wants to open their mouth extremely wide, we need to spread the lips. So we're going to go in here to the lips. And there's only 4 points on these lips, believe it or not. I did everything with the width of the character's lips and the curvature to make it look like actual lips there, with only these 4 points. Now that's critical here, because with the lips width, we only want to move these outer points. So we're going to grab G, and we're just going to grab that one, hold shift, and grab this one. So now we've got those. We hit T, and when we're all the way to the left, we're going to make the lips wider. So I hold the Alt key, and that stretches them from the center. So there, we're going to make the mouth really wide. Okay, and then at 64, we're going to shrink them really small. Oops. I was holding shift, not alt. I went alt. So now we bring the lips really tiny in. Okay? And we do need to do the cheeks as well. So where are those cheeks? There we go. Left cheek, right cheek. So here we're just going to bring the cheek inward. So T, grab the entire cheek and hold shift and drag it inward, and just barely touch it with the mouth. And the same with the left cheek. Hit T, grab the entire thing, hold shift and drag it till it just touches the mouth. And then we go to the extreme for width, and we move it the other direction. Let's go back to the construction layer and fix the cheeks. I altered these cheeks from someone else's construction, but let's see what we can do here. I think we can get rid of all of these points right there. and not affect the cheek at all. That looks like that worked. So let's do the same thing over here. Just gonna grab all but that top one, and there. So now let's go and see how that works in our lips width. So here we go. Now we can grab the left cheek, holding shift, drag it, hit T, then holding shift, drag it like this. And let's hit the curve here, and holding Alt, I can change that curve like that. And we'll do that one like that. And then the other cheek, same thing, hit T, hold shift, drag it out. It's just touching, and that one's still inside the head of it. Together. So looks like they're slightly different, but not enough to matter. So there we go. Then get back to the tiniest point. So yeah, that works. There we go. And then at 32, of course, we always want to reset both the cheeks. So we hit T and then reset. And the lips, or the right cheek, and reset. Oh. T, grab it all, then reset it. And then the lips have to be reset. So, reset. And so now our mouth is back to our rest state. So we go back to the main line. And looks like our arms moved a little bit there. Let's go to the ZoyZoy layer and move between this. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of distortion on the arms. So I must not have done the reset on the arms properly. So on the up and down, I know I did, but the abdomen, yeah. Torso twist. I didn't reset torso twist. So here we go to 32. We grab all of these bones and we just choose to reset them. Alright. And then let's go back to the main line. Select no bones. And now going back and forth between the manipulate, we can see the only things changing are the chin and the hands. So again on the chin, obviously I did not reset the jaws to center. And here we are at 32. We did not put everything back. So what did we turn on the jaw? We did the bottom teeth. So we need to reset those. It looks like I may have. But there we go. We moved the chin, so we need to go back to the skull and reset those. There we are. So now we can go back out to the main line. And you want to always be able to watch when you're developing your character. You want to check between your base layer and your manipulate layer, and you want very little change. We want as little change between the rest state and the center state. So here's when you go to the manipulate bones, we're now at the center state for every one of these bones that we've created an action for. The action is going to revert to the center of that action, and we want that center to be as close to our main character's rest state as possible. So when we go to manipulate, we want to be as close to the rest state as we can get. Some actions that you create can only be seen in the animation layer. So the lips width, what happened? They're not working. Oh, I didn't do the bone. Remember, you've got to always do the extreme bone position. So very wide to very narrow. Now we can go back out, and you can see when we manipulate the bone, mouth gets wider or narrower, and the jaw goes up and down. Okay, so next step would be to do the lips opening. So lips up and down. You can call it lips open as well. Lips open, close. But I use up and down for most things, so I'm using up and down here. So at the 1 point, we want it all the way down, or open as far as we go. And at 64, we want it to go all the way up, or as closed as we can get the lips to go. So we now go into the lips again, and we're going to only manipulate the other 2 points. As long as we keep different points being manipulated, we can get away with this quite easily. So we're now going to use G and just grab these points here. And so with 64, we want the lips to close, so I'm going to use T to grab both of them, and then Alt, and we're going to bring the lips together for complete, for complete closure as much as we can. Zoom in to get it just right. The closer you zoom in, the better control you have. So we want those lips to just barely touch at this point, right there. There's the lips closed. Okay, and then we're going to go to lips open all the way. So we want to go twice as wide as it's open now. So holding Alt, I'm stretching those points out. So looks like the character's shouting, ah! And then we go back to 32 and see how close it is to the rest state. Not real close. So we could either bring the width down a bit or overlap the lips at closed. I think we'll just leave it where it is and do a reset at 32 and just let the computer handle the wider opening happening faster than the closing. So there you go. So now we can open the mouth really wide or close it very closed. All right, and now let's go back out to the main line. And finally, what we've got is to change the lips in from a frown to a smile. So let's remove all this animation here. So we're back to the rest state, and we're going to go to the frown smile bone control. So frown will be all the way to the left, which will be the lowest number. So we rotate this all the way left, and then 64 will be smile, and that'll be all the way to the right. And so again, we're going to work on the lips, and we're going to work on 2 points we've already worked on. But last time we moved those points left and right. This time we're going to move those points up and down. So again, we use G, we grab this one, we hold Shift, we grab the other one, and now we hit T. And for our maximum smile, holding Shift, I just drag those points up, and we make the most ridiculous maximum smile we can. And we're also going to work with the cheeks at this point. So we're just going to grab those, and holding Shift, we just bring them up to the point is right at the point of the lips. So just like that, and just like that. And if we like, and I think I will, I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to rotate the cheek just 45. So the other one as well, we're going to rotate it 45 degrees. So let's see how that looks as it goes back to normal. And at 32, we would want both reset, but it looks like they're hanging on well. And then at maximum frown. So see here, it's just at our rest state. So now let's go back to the lips, and holding shift, we're just going to drag downward and make our maximum frown. So I'd say right before the lines start overlapping. See how they overlap and it creates a hole? So we want to go right before it starts to overlap. So right there. And now let's bring those cheeks back on down. So we're going to bring the cheek down here, and then we're going to rotate it 45 degrees like this. And then do the other cheek, same way, bring it down until the tip is hitting the point. And then we're going to hold shift and rotate it. So now we go back to 32. Whoops, I don't want those onion skins happening. Bear with me, I have a spinal column implant and it keeps me from manipulating my fingers just exactly the way I want to. So here we're going to reset and go to the other cheek and reset. And then we go to the lips, and of course we reset. So everything now is back to the rest state at the center. We can make it smile really big or frown really big. And we don't have to go to those extremes, we just can. So there we've got quite a bit of manipulation of the mouth. So we can go now back to the home screen. Oops, I didn't mean to open that. And we're going to go back to the main line. And now we can manipulate these bones. So we can do jaw open and close, mouth open and close, smile, frown. Let's put it at regular for smile and frown. So we can do an extreme smile or extreme frown. We can open the jaw and close the teeth. And basically create just about any kind of facial expression that we want. So we can have the character screaming with her smile or screaming with a frown, and everything in between. We can say oh and ah and all of those things. So now we've got that working. Now we want to do the tongue. So that's what these 4 tools are for. The tongue left, right, up, down, and then the width of the tongue and how sharp the tongue is. So you used to think that having a sharp tongue was just an expression. Well, we're going to actually implement a sharp tongue on this character. So let's go in here to construction layer. Let's get rid of all this animation. Go to the construction layer. And so this one is tongue left and right. We may as well start there. We're on it. So we're going to create a new action for tongue left and right. And this is pretty simple and straightforward. We're just going to rotate the lever all the way to the left for the 1 position. Take it to 64 and rotate it all the way to the right. And so then we're going to go in and just take the tongue and hit, let's do it by layer. We're just going to move the tongue's layer. And let's set the origin for the character's tongue in the center of the tongue. There we go. So now we're going to move the tongue for 64 all the way to the right. So we're holding shift and dragging the tongue all the way. Let's go to where it's just barely touching the edge of the cheek there, and then go to 1, and we'll do the same thing the other direction, where it's just barely touching the edge of the cheek. Alright, and remember, we can open the mouth very wide, so that tongue is going to be seen very wide. So now at 32, we want it to be reset, so we just hit reset, reset, critical that we reset it and not just put it back to center. It's got to be released so we can then move it up and down, because we're going to move the layer up and down next. So that's it for the tongue left and right. Go to the main line. So even though these are very simple actions, it's best to have them on these bones, and you will see why in a bit. So now we're going to move to the next bone, create the action for that. And again, we're going to go into move the tongue down, all the way down for the lowest value, and then to 64. We'll move it all the way up. And then when it's up, we're going to move the tongue up. So we go to the tongue and we grab the layer, not the object, and we're just going to move it as high up as we're going to want to take it. So let's go to right above the lips there, and then at the extreme down, we will take it to, let's go all the way to the chin with the bottom of it. And then at 32, it's not centered, but we're going to just hit reset, reset, and reset. And we're resetting the layer. That's important. So now that we've done that, we can go to the main line, go to the character, and manipulate bones. And you can see that we can move the tongue up and down, and left and right. And we're going to create the bone, or the action for the tongue width. All the way to the left is the smallest, or let's go widest, since we made the lips wider going this direction. And then at 64, we'll make the tongue as narrow as it can get. So again, we go into the tongue. This time we're working on the object, not the layer. So for making the tongue narrow, you just hold Alt and drag till the tongue is not quite making a basic figure 8 there. And then for the widest point for the tongue, again hold Alt, and we're just going to stretch it wide like that. And then go to 32, and we're just going to reset. Boom. So now we can get the tongue very narrow or very wide, whatever we need. And then go back out to the main line. And the next bone is going to be the tip of the tongue. And this is going to affect the curvature. So we go to this bone. So we're creating an action for tongue tip. And the smallest will be down. We'll make that the narrowest. And then 64, we will make it the most wide. And so again, we go into the tongue and we doing the T, but instead we're only going to grab the top and bottom button. So hit G to grab the top and bottom points. And then we hit C for curve. And for 64, we're going to make the curve extremely wide. And then at the narrowest point, we're going to make the curve very pointed. So now we've got a very pointed tongue, or sharp tongue, and a wide tongue. So go back to the main line, and back to the manipulate character level, bone layer. And so we can now open the mouth wide, and open the jaw wide, and move the tongue left and right, up and down. So very rounded and wide, or very narrow and pointed. So quite the pointed tongue. And we're losing the edge of the tongue in the background there, so let's change that color a bit. So let's go in here and change the stroke to a lighter color. There we go. So now we can see that her tongue has an edge, and that will help for doing phonetics for people. So I'm going to start creating these phonetic mouths. So you can see I have a phonetic mouth wheel with A, T, H, L, E, S and N, F and V, M and P, O, infinite, U, and Q, R, O, Ah, and then we're back to A. So as we move this lever, the mouth is going to take on these shapes. And we're going to do that by manipulating these bones that we've just set to create all those mouth shapes. We'll be able to manipulate the mouth into any shape we want, and we can instantly drop it to a phonetic shape. And of course, we don't want to see this wheel during animation, so we only want the wheel on when we need to find a particular mouth shape. So the first thing I'm going to do is this little bone here, and this is to turn the phonetic wheel off and on. So we're going to go into actions, create a new action, and this is the phoneme off and on. And now when we want it to be off when it's down and on when it's up, let's go ahead and use we'll use 6. And so at 6 it's up. The halfway point for 6 is 3, and we're going to make that where it's off. So from here on, it'll be off. Now what we can do is, in the object, we can allow animated layer effects. And when we do that, then we can change the opacity from whatever we need to whatever we need. So when we want it on, we want the opacity at 100. When we want it off, we want it at 0. When it's down all the way to 1, then we'll have it at 100%. So that would put it at rest as being off. We're going to do the phonetic mouth. So we select this phonetic mouth control here, create a new action for it. Now this one's going to be a little different, because what we want is to be reset at 0. So we're just going to start here, and we're going to move, just go to 0 is going to be here, and then 64 will be the mouth bone rotated all the way around to there. Okay, so now we can go back to here, and we want to see what is our first one. So we're going to turn on the phonetic chart, and so at 1 we're going to be reset. So we go see reset, or hit the B for bone and choose this bone, and then reset it on all bases. Then we're going to move it to position 2, and that's where we're going to create the mouth shape for A. So as you can see here, the jaw is open a bit, so we don't see the bottom teeth. So we're going to go to the manipulate bone tool here, and we're going to choose to open the jaw till we're just not seeing any teeth. Then we want to bring the tongue down, and it looks like we want the tongue to be wide at this point. So let's there we go. We don't want to move it side to side, so we go to Control Z, and we want it rounded, and we want it wide. There, like that. So that looks pretty much like A. We could move the lips open a little. Let's see. There we go. That looks pretty good to me. So there's A. Then we're going to move around to start of TH, And we want to just tap on all these bones where they're at right now, so that we keep that A shape up and right up until it changes to TH. So then at 7, we're now well into TH, so we want the lips to come up a bit. Okay, close the lips. We're going to see just a little bit of teeth. And then we're going to bring the tongue up above the teeth and then coming downward. And we're going to make it narrower. So we can bring the tongue down to there. And then we want to bring the jaw up just a bit. So the tongue should be actually touching the bottom teeth, but the lips should be covering it. And it looks like it's a little bit of a frown there, so we'll bring the lips the frown down just a bit. And I think we can open the mouth a little more. You want to see the top teeth there. So let's bring the jaw back down and bring the tongue down a little bit more. So there's our TH. And again, we're going to move forward to the start of the next one. And we want to just tap on where these bones are so they don't change on us right before we get to the next shape, which is L. So with L, we're going to bring the jaw up more. And we're going to bring the tongue down. See the top of the tongue there. And we want to close the lips up a little bit. And let's bring it to not quite so frowny. L. So there we go. We've got our L shape. Again, we move forward till we get right before the next shape, and then just hit all these bones. So we're recording exactly where they're at this moment. Then we're going to go and move to E. So we want to make the lips a little bit wider. Okay. We want to open the mouth more so we see the top teeth. We want to bring the jaw down so we only see a little bit of the bottom teeth. And we want to put the tongue right in the center like that. And let's make it a little bit, make it a little bit wider. So that's E. Let's bring that tongue like that. E, E, E. Make it smile a little bit more. So there we go. E. Maybe bring the jaw up a bit. And the lips. There we go. E. And we move to the next point. Right before the next point, set each of these bones. And move next point. And I forgot to do that back here. And so now we're going to do S. So we need to bring the jaw up so the teeth are just touching. And we can bring the lips up a little bit and make it narrower. And a little bit more smile to it. Yes. Say cheese. And that usually makes you smile. So there we go. There's our S. Let's bring the jaw down just a bit. So the teeth are just barely touching. We see just a hint of the tongue back there. Yeah. So now F. Let's move the bones forward to right before F. And select all the bones. And move into the F. And this, we want the lips to come up and the jaw to come down and a frown. We bring it to a frown. Can we open the lips a little more? This one's tough because we want the bottom teeth on the top lip. There we go. All right. Next one, get in the key, but before we do, we set all the F and D. And then the next one is M, which is just the lips closed, and a bit of a frown. Not too much. So there's M. Move over to the next one. There. Set these bones. If we don't do this, what will happen is we'll get a lot of variation between each mouth shape. It makes it very hard to easily grab a specific shape. So now we're going to do Q and an O. So that would be the lips opening and coming together, narrower, and the jaw open to expose the tongue. O, Q, 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 Q. Well, really. Ooh, maybe not so narrow on. And let's bring the tongue down. Ooh, and make it wider, very rounded. So there we go. Ooh, cute, cute, ooh. Okay, so move to the next one, which is going to be R. First we set these as Q and U. So now R, the mouth is open and wider. Looks about right. Make the tongue a little wider. Make the lips a little more open. R. And set those points. And then we go to so the chin comes up and the lips don't frown so much. And the tongue shouldn't be in there at all, right? Maybe a little more chin. All right. Now we want to do O, so we bring the lips together. And open the jaw a little more. And let's move the tongue into the center here. And bring the tongue down a little bit. Oh, so we should have a little more tongue. And maybe make it narrower. Okay, so move to the next one. Set all the bones. And finally we're going to so mouth open a little more, lips open a little more, Let's make it more of a frown. And a little bit wider opening. And the tongue should be as wide as we can make it. And barely showing past the teeth. So there we go. We've got our phonetics for our character. And it's very easy to jump to whichever phonetic we want. Alright, so when it's up, I want it on. When it's here, I want it off. So here I want it on. line. Okay, so there we go. Now it's off when I'm at rest state and ready to animate. If I need it on, I can turn it on, do what I need to do, and then turn it off. You should turn it off everywhere. You turn it on long enough to get the shape, and then turn it off so that it doesn't show up in our timeline. There we go. Alright, so there's the mouth rigged. Let's save the character. And the next step is to do each of the eyes and then the head turn. And so, let's see here. Go to the left one here. And create an action for the right eyelids up and down. So again, as you can see, the eyes are set at the halfway point so that I can open and close them, and at rest it'll be very close to what it looks like now. So using down will be closing the eyes, and using 64 or up will be opening the eyelids. So, and it's only on the right hand eye at the moment. So we're going to go into the eyes and go to the right eye, and then to the eyelid. There's top eyelid and bottom eyelid, and top eyelash and bottom eyelash. So let's do the top ones first. So let's just do the top lid first. So I'm going to go in here close and hit T. Grab this center point and bring this fully open. Then we want the eyelashes to go with that as well. So let's see here. If we use Alt and stretch, maybe I have to grab them. Now Alt and stretch. Get the right shape. Bring it up into place. There we go. We got our top eyelid open. Now we're going to do the bottom eyelid. Same thing, hit T. I'm just going to drag this point so the eye is fully open. Then grab the bottom eyelash. Grab them all, hit T. Use Alt and stretch till we're shaped properly, and then holding Shift, drag down and correct anything that's slightly off. So there's her eyelid opening and closing. So we got to go to the close now. So we can go from the midpoint to open. And we got a little distortion there we might want to address. And you can do that by adjusting the curve on the eyelids. So hit T here. C. So if we bring these eyelids in, there we go. And then the top eyelid the same way. We just bring in that curve a little bit. So now it'll restore to what it was at the center. Hit reset. now we're going to go to the closed position for this eye. And we want to bring the bottom eyelid up. So T and bring this center point to the center of the pupils. Top eyelid, similar situation. And then the eyelashes, holding Alt, drag down until they're all flat, and then bring it down. And the bottom eyelashes. T, Alt, flat, place. Now we test the opening of the eye. Works good for me. So now we're going to do the pupil size. So when you're reading in the dark, your eye pupils get larger. When you're excited, they get smaller. Well, it depends on the type of excitement. When you're scared, they get smaller. When you're excited, they get larger. So we're going to do something similar. We're going to just shrink this down to the minimal size, go to the maximum size. Now with pupils, this is going to be easy because all we got to do is go into the eye here. So we're on the right eye and we go to the pupil. And we're going to grab the layer and we're just going to change the scale here to 1.5. 1.5 times bigger than normal. So there we go. And then we go to the smallest position and we'll make it 1/2 normal size. So just change this to 0.5 and this to 0.5. And there we go. So let's go to the other now we're going to do pupil up and down. So create an action for that. And we're just going to grab the layer and we're going to rotate the bone first to all the way down, move it to 64 and all the way up. So at 64 and all the way up, we want to move the pupil upward. So we go to the eye again. Select the pupil, grab the layer. We want to move it up, but we don't want to move it past the eye too much. So we're just going to bring the center points right to the edge of the eyes. There we go. And then for down, we're going to do the same thing the other direction. Here. And now we go back and forth, up and down, go to 32, and hit reset, reset, reset. And then we're going to go back to mainline and the bone layer. And we're going to do the bone left and right. The eyeball left and right, the pupil. So we drag all the way to the left for the first position, and all the way to the right for the last position. And this will be all the way to the right. So again, we go to the pupil, and we grab the layer, and holding shift, we drag it till the centers the other direction. Same thing, it just barely touches the eye. And at 32, we want to reset. And then go back to the bone layer. And clear the animation from the document. And now we can test if things change. Not really, they're just the thickness of the eyes are getting thicker, but that's normal. So I should be pupils left and right. There we go. Pupil up and down. There we go. Pupil size. And whether they're even open. So now we need to do the same thing for the next eye. Same thing over here. Create a new action. Pupil size. The minimal size. And the maximum size. And we want the pupil to be half the size, so we need the left eye this time, and the pupil, and then T for the pupil size, and at this point we want the layer, and we want 0.5 and 0.5, and we go to the maximum at 64. 1.5 and 1.5. And there we go. The eye is getting big and little. Go to 32 and hit reset. Eyelids open and close, or up and down. So we're going to rotate the bone all the way down for 1, jump to 64, and all the way up. Oops, wrong bone. So here we want the eyes all the way open, so we've got to go to the top eyelid, hit T, open that up, hit C, bring that curve in just to match. Bottom eyelid. Alright, and we don't want an onion skin there. So now we need to bring open the eyelashes. So we hit G and grab all of them. Hit T, and then using Alt, I can shape those to match the eye. Bringing it up. Let's see. There we go. And then the bottom lashes, of course. Again, T and holding Alt, I can stretch them. Holding Shift keeps me from stretching them elsewhere. And now we need to go to fully closed. And again, we're going to grab the eyelashes, hit T, hold Alt, drag it till they're flat, bring it up, just like that. Go across right about the center of the eye. Top eyelash, same thing, opposite direction. And T to bring it down where we need it. And top eyelid, hit T, bring it down. Bottom eyelid, T, and bring it up. So now we can go out and go to the main line. Oops. Getting lots of action commands here. So go to the main line and test. Does the eye open and close? Yes. Alright. Pupil size. Pupil size only works in the animation layer. So you gotta go into pupil size to see that work. And next we're going to do pupil up and down. So when it's all the way down, it's number 1. When it's all the way up, it'll be 64. We grab the pupil by its layer. And holding Shift, drag it as far up as it'll go, which is to where the 2 points are hitting the eye edge. Then we go to 1 and do just the opposite. And go back to 32 and reset. The resetting is to release the layer, not to set its position. It does set it, but it sets it by releasing it. Alright, and then finally pupils left and right. Well, left pupil left and right. So we go all the way to the left and then jump to 64. All the way to the right. Again, we're going to go to the pupil and to its layer. So right, we drag it all the way to the right as far as it'll go, which is to right about there, there. And then all the way to the left will be the lowest end. Whoops. And just to the edge. So there we go. Let's go left, go left, right, go right, open all the way, open all the way, go center, go center, go up, and size of the pupil. We set them all to where they should be. And one final thing, because I like to do this with the eyes, even though they're connected, they're doing their own thing right now, they both do the same things. I want them to do it together, so I'm going to constrain this bone by angle with the on a one-to-one basis with the right eye. I want the right one to go off the left one. So this one is going to be, this is going to be the left eye, pupil left and right. And then this one is going to be constrained to left eyelids up and down. Right here. And this one is constrained to the left pupils. Left pupil size. Alright, and then this one is going to be pupils up and down. So we'll restrict this one to left pupils up and down. And so now, if I did it all correctly, when we move the one, the other one moves with it. We can make it different if we want to, but we can also connect them together. Just like that. And that's where I'll leave you today. Next time we'll do the head tilt up and down and head turn, both of which will take about as long as today's video. So everything else is working. We've got all complete control over the mouth, and if we do stretch the mouth weird, like it is right here, we can still jump to the phonetics and have it shaped like the correct phonetic, even though it's shouting. So everything is working great up to this point. I'm going to save the character, clear the animation from the document, and then save it. And I will see you next time.
Stranger could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Watch for the things that cause alarm. Watch for the one that would do you harm. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Please be alert and be aware of all the dangers anywhere. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Stand your ground and speak out loud. Let the world know harm's all around. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Danger, danger. Danger. danger, danger.